The origin of one of the most powerful races in the Dragon Ball universe has finally been revealed. Come with me, because in today's video, I will show and explain everything to you about the Frieza race. So, without further delay, let's go. Frieza's origin is one of the most mysterious and somber in the entire Dragon Ball universe. Unlike most villains who arise from experiments, mutations, or Saiyan evolutions, Frieza belongs to an extremely powerful and ancient race, known as the Frieza race, or in some sources called the Frost Demon race. This species is known to possess such colossal physical and energetic strength that even the gods of destruction acknowledge its destructive potential. Whis himself at one point states that Frieza could become a threat even to Beerus if he trained consistently, a statement that carries enormous weight within the universe's hierarchy. In canonical records and supplementary materials like Dragon Ball Xenoverse, we learn that Frieza is the son of King Cold, another being of immense power, and that his lineage is extremely rare. This race is not numerous. On the contrary, there are few survivors. This is due to the fact that most of them were incapable of controlling their own power. Frieza was born with an abnormal power, and the most impressive thing is that he never needed to train to achieve it. Since birth, his power already surpassed that of entire civilizations, and even his father feared what he might become if he decided to unleash all his potential. Unlike what many imagine, Frieza and Cold do not belong to any ancient galactic organization. They created the Galactic Empire under their own dominion, conquering planets and selling them to civilizations that could afford it. This activity of intergalactic market was what brought them into contact with the Saiyans of planet Vegeta. The Saiyans were brutal and efficient warriors, and Frieza realized that he could use them as weapons of conquest, turning them into hired soldiers of his empire. However, the fear of the Super Saiyan legend, something he had heard from his spies and King Cold, made him exterminate the entire planet, an act that would define the course of all Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball Xenoverse, there are even more intriguing revelations about his origin and connection to time and space. Through the manipulations of Towa and Mira, we discover that Frieza is not just a powerful being, but a fixed point in universal history, an individual whose existence influences entire timelines. In some alternative versions of time, we see variations of Frieza with power superior to the original timeline, including forms created by demonic influence, mixing his energy with Towa's dark energy, which transforms him into an almost divine version. Another interesting point revealed in Xenoverse is that Frieza's own race is biologically designed to contain supreme power. In certain game files and dialogues with the Supreme Kai of Time, it is mentioned that the ancestors of this race could manipulate cosmic cold and the life energy of entire planets. This would explain the icy appearance and metallic coloration of Frieza and his family, reflections of perfect energetic control. There are even indications that the coldness associated with them is symbolic, a representation of the absence of empathy, warmth, or humanity. What makes Frieza particularly unique is his capacity for artificial evolution. His transformations are not the result of training or emotion, but rather forms of containment. Every form Frieza assumes is, in reality, a way to repress his natural power. His body was not made to release all that energy at once. That is why, when we see his first form, small and compact, it is merely a self-imposed limitation. When he finally reaches his final form, his body is in a pure state, and his true power is revealed. In the Xenoverse universe, there is a special highlight on Golden Frieza, a form achieved after intense training, something the character himself had never done. This form symbolizes a fusion between natural talent and discipline, and the result is an explosion of power that challenges even gods. The most interesting thing is that in the game's files, Towa comments that Golden Frieza's power is a divine resonance, that is, a power that flirts with divine energies without needing a master like Whis. This places him in a unique position. He is a mortal who, through pure malice and the will for revenge, ascended to a level that many only reach after millennia. Frieza has always been described as someone who hates his own race. According to Xenoverse dialogues and complementary information from Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, he destroyed almost all others of his species because he considered them inferior. Frieza's pride and arrogance made him believe that only he deserved absolute dominion. This characteristic is reinforced in the Xenoverse 2-story mode when the player, if they choose his race, discovers that there are remnants serving under the Empire but all live in constant fear of his return. Another important curiosity is that, in the alternative timelines explored in Xenoverse, there are indications that King Cold was the first of the race to attempt to manipulate divine energy. Some secret files mention that Cold traveled between galaxies in search of energy equivalent to the key of the gods, but ended up failing, leaving a legacy of brute power without spiritual refinement. Frieza inherited this legacy, and with his intellect and malice, ended up perfecting what his father started, becoming an entity that challenges the very concepts of mortality and divinity. Furthermore, the Supreme Kai of Time himself mentions in Xenoverse that Frieza does not completely belong to the current reality. This statement suggests that somehow his essence may have been affected by the temporal flow. The empire he built and destroyed was preserved in various timelines, making Frieza a time anomaly, someone who, even dead, continues to influence the destiny of the universe. This is reinforced when Toa revives him, and even dead, his negative energy still manages to corrupt historical events. In some dialogues with the Time Patrol, Whis and Beerus are mentioned as observers of Frieza's ascent. Beerus, inclusive, comments that Frieza is one of the few beings that he did not destroy simply because it would be a waste. This type of comment shows how relevant Frieza is within the cosmic hierarchy. He is not just a villain, he is a symbol of universal fear, the manifestation of tyranny in its purest form. In summary, Frieza's origin goes far beyond what the main anime presents. He is the result of a lineage designed to dominate, molded by fear and absolute coldness. And in Dragon Ball Xenoverse, his role surpasses that of a simple tyrant. He becomes a point of convergence between mortal and divine power, between the past and the future. A being whose malice is so dense that it challenges even time itself, and who therefore will never completely disappear from the Dragon Ball universe. In the future Black Frieza saga, we may finally see all this deepened in an unprecedented way. This will be the perfect opportunity to explore the past of the Cold Empire, the emergence of Frieza's race, and the secrets of the planet he came from. For years, Frieza's origin was treated with mystery. We knew of his lineage, but we never saw the environment that molded such a cruel being. If the Black Frieza arc truly wants to elevate the character to a new level, showing his home planet is essential. A cold world, with a dense atmosphere and dark energy, where only the strongest survive, a direct reflection of the icy and ruthless personality of its inhabitants. It is possible that we will see Planet Cold, a place that, according to old mentions in guides and fan theories reinforced by Xenoverse, was the administrative center of the Empire before Frieza expanded it. There, King Cold ruled with a balance between diplomacy and force, maintaining alliances with elite civilizations and using his political power as much as his military one. Frieza, upon inheriting the throne, destroyed that stability, replacing order with fear and massacre. It would be fascinating to see this difference portrayed in flashbacks, a calculating King Cold who preferred to control through influence and respect, contrasting with the son who saw terror as the most efficient method of command. Another point that the saga may explore is the reappearance of Cooler, Frieza's brother. Despite his absence in the main canon, Cooler is an essential figure in the Cold family's legacy. He represents everything Frieza fears, someone who shares his natural talent but with discipline and rationality. Cooler always saw his brother as an immature, arrogant, and inconsequential being, and if he returns, the conflict between the two may show previously unseen layers of the race. Cooler could have maintained contact with old subordinates of King Cold, guarding secrets about the family past and even about the true reason why his race is so powerful. Seeing the home planet of the Frost Demons would be one of the greatest expansions of the Dragon Ball universe since the introduction of the Gods of Destruction. The environment could be hostile, covered by frozen deserts and energetic storms capable of destroying entire civilizations. The planet's core might harbor an ancestral energy source, the origin of the cold and destructive power characteristic of the race. This source, if corrupted, could even explain the emergence of the Black Frieza form, a stage that goes beyond Golden, mixing the control of life energy with the mastery of pure destruction similar to the power of the Gods of Destruction. Furthermore, it would be interesting to show how King Cold managed the Empire before Frieza's rule. He had generals, diplomats, and ambassadors spread throughout the planetary systems, and each sector had its own political structure. While Cold maintained a facade of stability, Frieza, upon taking over, transformed everything into a regime of oppression and fear. This would explain why so many warriors and planets rebelled after his death. The Empire was sustained only by the name and fear of the ruler, and not by a real base of governance. Showing this contrast on screen would bring an unprecedented political dimension to the franchise. Black Frieza, in turn, may be the culmination of all this, a form that represents not only physical power but a mental and spiritual state of complete darkness. If Golden Frieza was the symbol of perfection and pride, Black Frieza would be the symbol of hatred and emptiness. This transformation may be accompanied by memories of the past, of his planet, his father, his lineage, showing that all his malice was born from a civilization that believed in absolute domination as a synonym for survival. This would give a rare psychological depth to the character, who until then always acted out of pure arrogance. But comment on what you thought of all this and don't forget the like. Thank you very much for the support from all of you, and until next time.